Evening, everyone. I'm Walt Lane. I have the privilege of serving as the Director of the Office of Planning, Policy, and Economic Development. On behalf of the County Commissioners, County Administrator Colleen Marr, and the Somerset County Planning Board, thank you for attending tonight's meeting. We are making good progress on the update of our circulation plan, and we're going to be sharing some draft strategies and recommendations for feedback tonight. My pleasure to introduce Pete Kramer, who's with our project team. He's going to introduce his team, but I'm just going to introduce my team. I have Ken Wadeen and Jonathan Eagle from the Office of Planning, Policy, and Economic Development, and we have Peter Zambito and William Long from the NJTPA. They are the ones funding this study, so thank you to the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. And with that, Pete, it's all yours.
Great, thank you, Walter, and thank you everybody for joining us. We're going to not talk too much, hopefully provide a lot of opportunity for you guys to review what we're saying and what we're recommending, and have you plenty of opportunity to ask questions and make comments. So my name is Peter Kramer. Worked with Walter and Ken, Somerset County quite a bit, and it's always a pleasure to collaborate with them. I am a senior project manager with Michael Baker. Not on the call today. Our other team partner, WSP, did a lot of the technical and equity work. John Federico and Heather Martin, and Susan Blickstein is running the show tonight. Her team is running the show, the PowerPoint and the slides and everything you see, and she's our community engagement lead on this project. Just some housekeeping logistics stuff. Initially, you will all be muted. You won't be able to share video from your own screen. We just generally do that, for safety, because sometimes people hack into the presentations. You could anytime use the raise hand function if you want to ask a question or a comment. We'll get to all the comments and all the questions. We have plenty of time tonight. And you can also, there's a show captions function, and it'll translate everything we're saying into a little box on the screen in case you miss something that we say. We're also recording tonight, and we're going to provide the slides to everyone as well. Just some additional notes. As I said, the meeting's being recorded. Comments can be made in the little chat box. If you're having any technical difficulties, just note that Sienna Yang, SGB Planning LLC at gmail.com. Sienna's our technical person, and she'll try to help you out. About through the middle of the presentation, we're going to do 2 breakout discussion rooms. You'll be randomly assigned into one group. We'll meet for about 20 minutes, show you some slides, have plenty of opportunity for comment and questions, bring you back to the main room after 20 minutes, see if there's anything that people want to question about at that point, and then we'll reconvene and we'll switch you to the other breakout room. One is focused more on projects, and one is focused more on policies, planning strategies. Again, during the breakout rooms, you can use that raise hand feature, click on reactions, and we'll call on you. And as I said, the recording would be available, and Ken Wadeen from Somerset County will take care of that. Just to get things going, we have 2 little icebreaker questions. So how did you learn about, or did you participate in the first open house that we had on February? And we'll just give it a minute. We have about 35 respondents. And actually looks a little close to half and half. We'll give it another minute to go through. All right, looks like we're peaked out, so I'm just going to publish that. So it's about 10 out of 26 did participate in the first meeting, so we're glad to have a bunch of new folks participate with us tonight. And we'll go to our second question. How'd you find out about today's meeting? Social media, through email, word of mouth, or by some other methodology? Okay, so I'm going to end the poll because I think we've got everybody, just about everybody, a couple more coming in. Okay, and actually this is what we've seen previously that Somerset County has a really good list of and distribution method to get the word out, and it looks like most people heard either through email or social media. So that's great, and we'll continue to use the emails that we get from people to let them know what's going on with the plan. So tonight's agenda, we're going to just give you a quick overview of the purpose of the transportation plan, so you know what it's supposed to do and what it's not supposed to do. Susan is going to give you an overview of the public and stakeholder outreach events that we've conducted, some of the things we've learned, and then we'll talk about how that shapes the vision statement for the plan and the goals. I'm going to give you an overview of the strategies and recommendations, and then we're going to go into the breakout rooms. Like I said, we'll have 2 separate sessions, 20 minutes, a quick break, and then you'll switch to the other breakout room, and we'll be able to, again, talk about projects, policies, strategies, anything that's on your mind, especially if you don't see anything that you're concerned about on the slides or in the presentation. We're really glad to hear and answer your questions. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A, and Walter will provide you some next steps about what's going to happen over the next couple of months to finish up the plan. So I am going to turn it, oh, this one's mine. So purpose of the transportation plan. You know, the county is responsible for maintaining the multimodal transportation system. And that means not just roads and bridges, but transit, pedestrian facilities, bicycle facilities, and all the connections between them. Not everybody can, should, or is able to drive. So we got to make sure that people are able to get to the things that they need to do: work, school, social opportunities, whatever it is. We got to make sure that everybody has equitable access to good transportation and to the kind of travel that they need to do every day. It's also a collaborative process. It's not just the county. We are funded by NJTPA, who's our North Jersey Metropolitan Planning Agency, and we work with them. We work with NJDOT. We work with other departments in the county, the engineering, the parks, public works, and we also work with NJ Transit. Overall, the plan is more of sort of a policy plan. What do we need to do, and why, and how do we plan to get it done? And we create a process for transportation decision making. There are a lot more projects that come up than can be built, and what we do is provide sort of a framework for the county to prioritize and make sure they're doing what's most important for the most number of people in the county. We also use the plan to feed projects into the county capital improvement program. That's one of the things that the county is required by state's municipal land use law to create a capital improvement program every year. So that way people can see exactly what's being done, how the money is being spent, and to make sure that it's addressing the needs of the county. And then overall, the plan prioritizes safety, equity, and resilience, especially given the storm events that are very frequent in Somerset County. So Susan, we're going to jump over to you right now. Are you going to give us an overview of the community engagement process?
Thanks, Pete. So we're very happy to have all of you with us this evening. Thank you for being here. As you may know, the project team, including the county and the consultant team and our partners, we've been engaging with the community in a variety of ways, including in-person events and virtual opportunities. And these formal and informal outreach efforts have informed the vision, goals, and strategies that you'll see us talk about this evening. All combined, we've had over 1,000 engagements using different methods. And Pete, if you can go to the next slide.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Oh, there you go.
Over 800 people participated in the project survey, which was available for almost 2 months. And we received another over 300 comments via the engagement website mapping tool. So people were able to pin and identify locations and provide feedback that way. The county and the project team also attended 9 community events thus far with around over 300 people. We are also planning additional events in October. So you can look for more information about that in the weeks ahead. We've held a number of focus groups and have spoken to over 50 stakeholders across different sectors within the county through those groups. And we've also been working closely with the Technical Advisory Committee that we've met with several times throughout the study process. You can go to the next slide. Through all of these outreach activities and through the first virtual public meeting, we also, is somebody not muted? Okay, you can ask whoever's unmuted to please mute themselves. Thanks. Through all of that, we heard some key messages consistently. People expressed a desire for enhanced transit in all the outreach activities, including better service reliability, expanded hours and frequency, as well as new routes and potentially new stations. Hand in hand with the desire for transit is the need for enhanced connectivity that people talked about. Being able to integrate transit and connectivity for walking, bicycling, especially to connect to where people live, work, and other kind of key destinations that they are getting to on a daily basis. We also heard a lot about increased truck traffic and freight rail due to the development of warehouses and our changing retail economy or e-economy. And the concerns included everything from noise to speeding and heavy traffic, turning movements, and pedestrian safety. People also identified locations where there is flooding and the need to coordinate with emergency management and to think about evacuation routes and to identify priority routes. So we see the integration and the need to respond to the changing climate and to resiliency concerns that people raised throughout the engagement process. We also heard that better information is needed, specifically in terms of transit and where and how people can access transit and bicycle facilities, and that they would use transit and perhaps bike more if they knew how or where to do so. Lastly, we heard a lot about the changing travel patterns post-COVID that I'm sure you're all aware of. And it's been interesting in this field to really look at the fact that there really isn't a single AM or PM peak hour anymore. There is still a rush hour, but there are various peaks throughout the day and then increased travel on the weekends. And so we really need to think about the changing demographics and the travel patterns as a result of COVID and the employment shifts, that some of which are staying with us long term. Pete, if you can go to the next slide, please. So through all of the engagement activities and working with the Technical Advisory Committee, we developed a vision statement, which is to create a safe, comfortable, sustainable, resilient, and connected transportation system that addresses climate change risks and is coordinated with land use decision-making. And you're going to hear more about the need to integrate land use and transportation planning and decision-making a little bit later in the presentation. The second part of the vision statement is Keep Somerset Moving enhances mobility for users of all travel modes and incorporates equity throughout the planning, prioritization, project selection, community outreach, design, construction, and maintenance of projects. So the whole life cycle of prioritizing, planning, funding, constructing, and maintaining capital investments. In addition to the vision statement, Pete, if you want to go to the next slide, the plan also includes a number of goals. And Pete, I don't know if I can speak to these. The goals fall within some key themes that we heard throughout the engagement process. The first is the importance of connectivity and efficiency in the transportation system and the need to maintain and operate an efficient multimodal countywide transportation system, and to work collaboratively with partners to make that happen, to improve mobility and the connections that are needed throughout the transportation system.
Right.
We also
Susan, you want me to jump in and
sure.
Continue that? Okay, because
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing a lot of themes here that you talked about. So Susan talked about connected and efficient and maintaining the system. I mentioned that right up front. Equity is an important part of the process. Susan, you mentioned that we have changing demographics. We're actually seeing, even though Somerset County is still very different, more affluent than much of New Jersey, the population is becoming more diverse, and we're seeing a lot more affordable housing coming into the region. And we want to make sure that people are living in places where they have adequate transportation options to get to and from work and to school and other things that they need to do. Safety is always a critical part of the process. I think in years past, we probably thought more about congestion and moving trucks, but now we think a lot more about safety. We looked at crash data, which is all the reports of all the crashes and all the crash types, vehicular, trucks involving pedestrians, cyclists, and we use those to try to understand how people are moving around and where the risks are, and we try to design projects around understanding that. As Susan mentioned, also land use is part of that equation. Where do we put people in jobs? And if we put jobs in places that are difficult to get to and from, so if we put a facility that's going to attract people that are taking a bus or rail to work, we need to make sure we have connections from those bus stops and rail stations to those job locations and to people's homes as well. This has to be smart. Somerset County has been a leader in advancing electric vehicle technologies. They have a good fleet of electric vehicles right now, and they're actually developing not just an electric, but alternative fuels plan for Somerset County to transition all the vehicles that the county owns, all the fleets, the end as well as the maintenance and transit vehicles. Automated vehicle technologies can provide or anticipated to provide a lot of benefits in terms of making travel safer, more convenient, and making better use of the transportation system, the roadway system, parking, et cetera, that we have. But what we've learned is that that's not going to happen on its own. There's a really important role in terms of roadside technologies and supportive technologies to make sure that those automated and connected vehicle technologies work. And in order to do that, we monitor the performance of the system and make sure everything's working correctly, the interchanges are working. And then, Somerset County, just historically, because of where a number of the communities were placed, one thing I've learned is that Somerset County is covered with water, streams, bodies of water, rivers, creeks. You have quite a few more bridges in Somerset County than you would typically think you would have. So Somerset County has about 12% of New Jersey's bridges, but only about 4% of the population and land area. So there are quite a few more bridges in Somerset County that need to be taken care of. And a lot of them are, at risk at times from storms. So I want to make sure that the infrastructure that we built is storm hardened, so we don't create new problems. And for the places where critical bridges are at risk because of storm issues, we want to make sure that improvements are made in the future so that we're spending the money that is limited for transportation in good and smart ways, and that the projects that we do develop have a much longer useful life. And if we do all these things, we do what Somerset County is best at: a great place to live, a great place to work, a great place to get a good job and access to opportunity. So that's how we tie the goals to the vision and everything that we've learned in the course of the plan. So now I'm going to go over a little bit about the plan recommendations. What we're going to do, this is going to set up the two discussion groups. I'm going to lead a discussion group about projects, and Susan is going to lead one about policies and master planning. My experience is a little bit more in traffic and modeling and street design, and Susan has all that, and she's a land use planner as well. So it's a really good fit. And we'll talk about some of the recommendations, and you'll have plenty of opportunities to ask us questions about that. So let's jump into that first group. So the first thing we're recommending is a capital development process. You have sort of an informal project development process right now. What we're doing is trying to formalize and enhance things that are done right now and make sure that the projects that are developed advance that vision statement and the goals and all the issues that I just talked about. A lot of projects start with either the condition of the bridge or the pavement, and a lot of jobs, a lot of roadway jobs start as repaving jobs. And what we want to make sure is that when we identify a road that needs to be repaved because of potholes or because of other problems with the pavement, that we add to it all the things that we can. This is just one of the plans that Somerset County has developed over the years. Somerset County has a very aggressive planning program. There's as I said, there's an electric and automated vehicle strategy. We have data on bridge condition, traffic congestion. We don't have great data on roadway flooding. We know when the storms hit, but we don't know the extent of the flooding and exactly where it occurs. And if we have all that data, we can do projects that don't just repave the roadways as they are, but we make them better. Better access to transit, better access for biking and walking, better access, better response to traffic congestion and known safety problems. So we want to make sure that the capital development process, project development process, doesn't just start and stop with the pavement and the bridge condition, but it looks at all the other data resources and all the other things that the departments in the county are using and all the other plans and studies that have been prepared leading up to this. And that way we can achieve multiple goals with each project. We can make roads that are safer, that don't have potholes, that are better designed to fit into the context of the community, that they don't just move cars and trucks through the community, but that they complement the community, that people can get to work and to school and they can do it safely. And they can do that regardless of where they live or how much they make. And it's, again, also a very collaborative process. It's not just the engineering department, but planning, parks, economic development, human services, even, health is a critical part of this. So overall, if we do this, if we develop this more enhanced and formalized process, we won't just be repaving projects and saying that's enough. We'll be doing a lot of things, and we'll be creating better projects that have much more longer useful life, and taking into account as well the issue in storm resiliency, things that I talked about. So right now, the engineering department has identified 10 roadway projects and 32 bridge projects. And they're primarily in the regional center area. They come from a variety of different sources. Some of the projects are prepared from the previous transportation plan, which was the Making Connections plan. It was undertaken in 2011 and published in 2012. Some of the projects from that plan didn't get completed, so we've started with them. We've added some new projects on some areas that needed to be addressed and things that have come up since then. We've looked at safety and crash data and added projects that identify those. We've also made sure that we have projects that address issues that came up in the process, the planning process here. Susan talked about we had 1,000 different engagements during the plan. People went to the website, they went to the meetings, they participated in the focus groups, they were on our first public meeting. So we tried to track those comments and also develop projects around those and things that come from previous plans and studies. So about 3 years ago, Susan and myself and some of the other team members worked on the walk, bike, hike study. Some of the projects that were recommended in that study, like putting bike lanes on certain county roads, would also figure into how the projects were developed. And we also look at proximity to transit, and that all these different project sources, again, address those priorities that I talked about: equity, safety, access to opportunity, and resilience as well. So we're developing much more long-term projects that address all the different needs that we've identified. And here's just a list of those projects. You'll see those. They're primarily in the regional center, but there's a mix of roadway projects, repairing roadway projects, adding some new capacity in strategic areas, finishing the northern part of the 206 bypass in Hillsborough, and then one intersection project near Raritan, and then 2 interchange projects, one on I-78 and one on 287. And then, as I mentioned, the walk, bike, hike study is another source of that we turn to identify projects. That plan, like I said, from 3 years ago, included 271 miles of new bike facilities, and 50 of those were potential bike projects on county roadways. So if a project comes up to repave one of those, we look at that plan and we see if it's applicable, if it can be done, and if we can fit it into the allotted budget. 206 Hillsborough, there was another study of priority investment. Now that we have the bypass, we need to have a new vision for how 206 Main Street is going to work. In a lot of towns you have, like where I live, we have Route 1 and Business Route 1. So maybe it would be something like that. It's been studied before. There have been many different concepts, and this is one of those for the intersection of 206 and Amwell Road in Hillsborough. So now I'm going to, I'll talk about these, and then Susan is going to talk about it in detail. So in the policies and master planning, excuse me, category, we want to go back from the things that we've learned and re-examine some of the county master plans and policies. We want to make sure that the county's complete streets policy and other policies are integrated with that proposed project development process, and that we also have identified a need to better evaluate new locations for affordable housing. So we want to make sure that when affordable housing is built, it wasn't just put on a piece of land that was there, but that it is put in a place where people have access to transit or to walking or biking. Again, that ability to get to better work opportunities, to get to better education. Somerset County is really good at working with and collaborating with its municipalities. So we've also identified a need to review and update county and municipal complete streets policies. As I mentioned, that review and update the county housing element in terms of how affordable housing locations are identified and advanced. And we've also learned over the years that municipal land development review is a good opportunity to make improvements. So if somebody comes into your town and they want to build a building of a certain type of housing, office, or other type of facility, we want to make sure that they bear their fair share of the impacts that are created by that. And if it's a new work location, we want to make sure that if there's a bus stop nearby, that people can walk to that new work location from that bus stop. We hear a lot from municipalities that say, oh, we had this new building come up and people are getting off the bus and walking in the grass. Well, that's because the town missed that opportunity to say, hey, developer, yes, you have the zoning to build this, but you need to make sure that you connect with an adequate sidewalk so people can get from that work location, to the bus stop. And then we've also identified quite a few future plans and studies that can be undertaken to address some of those key issues. We've also, this is a little bit more detail about the affordable housing site selection. We're recommending a process that can better identify places where affordable housing can be built and the types of facilities like sidewalks, like bike access, like transit access, to make those affordable housing sites work better. And there are quite a few land use and transportation strategies. So there are opportunities within the county's master plan to incorporate some innovative zoning practices, mixed use, access management plans that could be identified for a few locations on some state and county roadways. And again, the opportunity to incorporate green infrastructure. Again, you can see in this picture between the sidewalk and the bike lane, a green infrastructure rock garden has been built, and that's a low-cost way to capture and filter some runoff from storm events so that roadways don't flood. And then some of the other future plans, we know that at least 3 sections of US 206 need a little further study. Halfway down there, I mentioned that Hillsborough Main Street study. So we think that's something that should be advanced. The area around 206 and 518 in Montgomery and Rocky Hill is an area of intense new development. There's commercial development, retail development, some realignment of 206 itself, as well as quite a bit of new housing. So we want to make sure that the traffic is not adversely impacting the neighborhoods, and that the trips that need to be made can be made safely. Again, using that opportunity to leverage those land development approvals to make adequate improvements. North of in the northern half of Somerset County. So from 22 north all the way into Morris County. 206 has quite a few different profiles and contexts. You want to make sure that that is a much more consistent, safer profile to 206. The West Trenton Rail Restoration has been studied quite a few times. It can provide quite a lot of benefit to Somerset County, and that's something that needs to be revised. I remember I mentioned the river crossings resiliency. That would be really a countywide study of that issue of bridge crossings. And then Somerset County has recognized the need to reevaluate transit, and there's quite a lot of interest in freight and goods movements. So we want to make sure that we don't just jump into something, that we have the adequate resources to study that correctly and figure out some strategies that can be implemented to mitigate the impacts of warehousing and e-commerce development. And basically that's how that would work. So we think we need better mapping and data resources of what's happening, what's been approved, what's there right now. Focus on some strategies in the short term, and then work with the state to advance a couple of projects that could eliminate some bottlenecks and address some of the problems that we've heard about from stakeholders. Like, for example, in Manville, there's a rail crossing near one of the schools, and it creates some safety issues. So there are quite a few different types of issues related to freight and goods movement that need to be addressed. So I actually see one person's hand. What should we want to take that question now, Walter?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
while
Nice.
we're doing that, can I just mention
yeah.
just housekeeping thing really quick? If you joined late, there are going to be breakout room discussions, so hang tight for just a little bit. And there are 2 rooms. You do not have to change rooms. The facilitators are going to change rooms, so you can comment and have input on plans and policies and projects. So I just want you all to know that that's coming. And now I apologize, Bruce, for interrupting you.
No problem. Thank you. The question I have is about the Belmead train station. It's lovely historic train station, but it's part of that West Trenton line, I think, that you highlighted in your slide. And it's been on and off and on and off, but there's a number of ways that it was on, and you could electrify it or diesel it or to get it running again. But I just wondered what kind of priority the state has on it. But I've been here over 25 years, and I think it would be a great way to reduce some of the traffic congestion.
Well, we agree. So it's been a priority project from the county for many years. Right now, there's some environmental design and now environmental work that was being done. There was some initial planning for that, but part of the issue that there needs to be some capacity improvements on the Northeast Corridor and the Raritan Valley line in order to provide service, to increase service, plus the additional capacity into Manhattan. So it's kind of in that queue where some of those other larger infrastructure projects need to occur first, but it's something the county's been advocating for so many years.
And Walter, you touched on that. I believe it would need to have the new tunnel into New York to really work, right? To get the available capacity
improvements at New York
Right.
Penn Station.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's been a priority for a long time, and we've looked at it before ourselves.
Well, if it needs a new tunnel, then it's not going to happen in my children and my grandchildren's lifetime. So
I think the shovels are in the ground.
Yeah,
so
shovels
hopefully,
in the ground for Gateway.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
will be increased
The other-
capacity.
Yeah, the other important piece is that it needs to be included in the updated circulation element to be formal county policy. You know,
Yeah.
even though the county has been working hard on it,
Yeah.
that's a kind of key part of making it formal policy and getting some momentum towards moving that as a study. I'm going to mute you, Bruce, because we're going to go. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just said thank you, and I was unmuting myself too.
Okay, great.
Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to give you the ground rules. We're about to go into our breakout rooms. As I said, I'm going to lead the projects group. Anything that's on your mind, especially something that's not on the slide, we're glad to address that. Walter's going to be participating in one of the groups and Ken in the other. So we'll have a consultant and a county representative on each of the groups. And then Susan's going to delve into some more detail about the county master plan policy study strategies that I give you a real quick overview of. So during the breakout rooms, you're going to start out muted. You won't be able to share your video or screen, but again, you can use that raise hand function and we can unmute you. And also you always have that option to use the show captions if there's something you didn't quite understand or you can't hear us as well as you need to. So again, these are the two breakout rooms. At this point, Sienna from Susan's group is going to randomly assign everybody into one group. We'll have about 20 minutes. We'll look at the slides real quick, take your questions and answers, and really anything on your mind, we're glad to talk about. We'll come back and then we'll shuffle and you'll be assigned to the other group. And then we'll come back again. We'll tell you what's going to happen, how the plan's going to be finished up, adopted, and published. And there'll be a review period as well. So Sienna, you want to get that started for us?
So we had a lot of great discussion in the breakout room I was in. So thank you everyone for taking the time to talk with us. I'm sure the other room was just as good. So I guess, do we have any questions? Any further things we want to talk about? I know we're almost at 8 and we'll try to get you out close to that time, but I don't want to cut off anyone from any final comments.
It looks like Henry, are you have your hand up again?
Yeah, I do. Just real quick there, when you go over to Western Canal Causeway over there in Manville, that on the turn, when you're heading towards 287 out of Manville or wherever you're coming from, the airport or past Rhythms, and you go into that turn, I don't know what anybody was thinking, but right at that turn, it says 45 miles an hour. And it's really, if anybody takes that turn at 45 miles an hour, they're going to be up the hill. Something for the Public Works Department to look at, and maybe Walter Lane could take note of that.
Henry, what was that location again?
As you cross the Millstone River and then the canal, when you take that turn towards 287, there's a sign that says 45 miles an hour. I understand it's 45 miles an hour once you get up the road, but at that turn, you're almost open for a lawsuit,
Yeah.
That's my thought.
I got it noted and I will bring it to Public Works attention.
Yeah. And there's just one other thing too, and it's just, and I don't know how you can control this, but the GPS, sometimes they have speed limits on there, and at times they're inaccurate. So they could think that the speed limit is 45 miles an hour going through Millstone. In fact, I heard somebody saying that they overheard a cop pulled somebody over that was going 45 miles an hour by the gas station up on the corner, and the woman said, "Well, that's what my GPS said." So I don't know if that was just a line or what, but I've noticed driving through towns and looking at the GPS, they're occasionally inaccurate. And I don't know how if you can get to Google or to Waze or whoever, there's maybe some kind of federal legislation or something.
Well, thank you. I think we had some ideas from Middlesex County that talked, when they're freight study, and we'll follow up with them how they started engaging those types of travel information companies to make sure the information is correct.
Right. Thank you.
It looks like Linda has a question, a comment.
Just one quick question. This recording and presentation will be available to us, or are you sending it out, or if not the recording, the presentation itself?
We're going to provide a PDF copy of the presentation, and Ken Wedeen, who's listed here, Wedeen at County Somerset, New Jersey, US, he will send that to everybody that registered. And it'll be posted on the project website as well. Yeah.
Beat us to our next slide, Linda.
Yep.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you go to type in Somerset County, Keep Somerset Moving, you'll go to the project page and it'll have all that information. So Walt, why don't you talk about our next steps?
Sure. So this was just the beginning of the outreach for, getting feedback on the recommendations and potential strategies for the plan. So the consultant team and the county team will be having some pop-up events in October to gather additional public input and comment. We'll take that, we'll take all that and actually have an actual draft circulation element for review. And when that is ready for review, we'll let everyone know. And then the county will start the process of adopting it as an element of the county master plan. So at least 20 days before the public hearing, which would probably be at a normal regular county planning board meeting, we will take comment on the draft plan. There'll be a 30-day review period. And then most likely the plan will be adopted 2 planning board meetings in the future to adopt that, since the 30-day comment period usually ends after the second next planning board meeting. So as an example, when we started the process for updating the county's preservation or adopting the county's preservation plan, we had the public hearing in March. In April, the public comment period ran, and then we extended it, and then we took action at the May planning board meeting to adopt it. And then when the meeting to adopt the plan, there's additional public comment and changes could be incorporated into the plan at that point. So there's plenty of opportunities for additional public comment when the draft plan is out. We really welcome that. We want this to be the best plan it could be. And we truly appreciate everyone taking the time to spend a good hour and a half with us tonight, sharing your thoughts and giving us your feedback. So eventually this will be adopted as an element of the county master plan. The towns will be noticed. There'll be public notification in the papers as well, and written notification to all the towns. So we look forward to seeing you at future meetings to give us comments and feedback on the plan. So
Yeah, thanks. And as Walter said, we're at a critical point here to get we've written, talked, studied. We got a lot of stuff on paper, and now we want to hear what you have to say. We've got a lot of great comments today. We could easily have gone, twice as long, but I think we got a lot of really good comments, and we hope you'll share the slides with your friends and your colleagues, and get some more comments. And then as Walter said, we've got several months before the whole thing becomes official. So there's still plenty of time, opportunity to go to the website, email us, use all the different methodologies. Yep.
Yeah,
So you can email the Keep Middlesex or Keep Somerset Moving. Mike's throwing me off from Middlesex County here. So Keep Somerset Moving, that email address that goes to the project team. So if you have, as soon as we end the meeting, you have another thought or idea, please email us. We check that all the time. You can visit the project website, and soon that the next couple of days, the video will be up for people to watch and review, and then send us any comments. So we truly appreciate you taking the time tonight. And I want to thank you on behalf of the county commissioners, the county administrator, and the county planning board. So thank you. And thank you from the planning staff and from our consultant team for participating tonight. So hopefully everyone has a good night and stays dry from the coming rain. So take care.
All right. Thank you, everybody.